In the early hours of June 26, 2011, Stephen McDaniel broke into the apartment of his downstairs neighbor and fellow Mercer College Law School graduate, Lauren Giddings, where he murdered her and dismembered her body. 4 days later, when Giddings was reported missing by her friends, a local news channel interviewed McDaniel as a neighbor of Giddings. After learning that he committed the murder reporters are asking about, this interview takes on a new light. Throughout the interview, McDaniel attempts to put on the image of a distraught neighbor shocked by the disappearance of an ex-classmate.
WGXA first interviewed McDaniel the day after Lauren Giddings was reported missing in June of 2011. Reporter Michelle Casada found him standing outside the apartment building where he and Giddings had lived, and that we now know was the scene of the crime. He talks about joining Giddings' friends to look for his law school classmate and how they entered her apartment to see if there was anything wrong. It was also the first time McDaniel found out that a portion of Lauren Giddings' body had been recovered by police from the dumpster where he had put it. Knowing now that McDaniel had murdered and dismembered Giddings, the interview provides a glimpse inside the mind of a killer as he builds his story and his alibi. Take a look.
Person that was living there?
Yeah, Lauren was my neighbor. We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
Did you see her hang out with anyone at the time, anything like that?
I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I mean, you always hear noise outside, but it's just people walking by pretty much.
And she just recently graduated from Mercer?
Yeah, she and I we were both JD students. We graduated back in May.
What kind of person was she? I mean, what did you see her?
I mean, she's as nice as can be. I mean, very personable, very much a people person.
Do you know any enemies she might have had, somebody that might want to hurt her?
No, we don't know where she is. I mean, the only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her. Because we went over. One of her friends had a key. We went inside and tried to see if there was anything amiss, but I mean, she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. I mean, the door was locked when everyone got here. I mean, we just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of. I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body.
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? I mean, we don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? Like, they took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's how we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
However, he seems more concerned about establishing that he did not know what happened to Lauren Giddings and that no witness had seen anything than an actual grieving or worrying about Giddings. He also seems to have a breakdown when the reporter notes that police recovered a body in the parking lot of the building. Stephen McDaniel had already been established as a person of interest in the case by the police at the time of that interview. Later that day, police searched McDaniel's room. They say that at this point, McDaniel became unhinged, sweating profusely and drinking at least 10 bottles of water. Soon after, the police recovered Giddings' torso from one of the building's dumpsters. Her dismembered limbs and head were likely carried away to the dump. But a police car had parked in front of this particular dumpster, keeping the body in place until it was searched. In an interrogation, McDaniel did not reveal anything, but came off incredibly odd. In the following days, police would find the packaging to the hacksaw used to dismember Giddings' body in McDaniel's room, as well as a master key to the rooms in the building. They also found a pair of Lauren Giddings' panties in McDaniel's apartment and several blog posts he had written describing torture and violence towards women. After being arrested and held in police custody for 10 months, McDaniel confessed to the murder and pleaded guilty on April 21st, 2012. He received a sentence of life in prison. He detailed how he stalked Giddings, even filming her through her second-story window with a camera attached to a long stick. When he established she was alone in the room, he used his master key, which he had stolen from one of the landlords of the building, to enter her room. She awoke at the sound of him sneaking into the room, and at which point Stephen McDaniel jumped on her and strangled her to death. He then dragged her body to her bathtub, where he used his hacksaw to dismember her corpse. McDaniel placed these dismembered parts in garbage bags and dumped them in dumpsters around the area. He fully expected all of his body parts to be brought to the dump, but when the torso was found in his perfect crime was foiled. Due to the planning that went into the crime, as well as the relatively little contact between the killer and his victim, many believed McDaniel was a budding serial killer who would have gone on to kill more if he had not been caught. Stephen McDaniel is now being held at Valdosta State Prison and will likely stay in prison until his death.